YouTube, it's your Call of Duty coach, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys the absolute best settings that you need to be running on Black Ops 6. With Black Ops 6 finally being out, there are new settings that you need to change, and luckily for you, we're going to be covering everything from graphics to controller and to movement settings to get you ready for the new game. Now just hit that follow and let's get started. Alright, so starting with your display mode, if you want the least amount of input lag, you want to go with full screen exclusive. The reason I use full screen borderless is just because it's easier to tap in and out of games, but if you want the most competitive advantage, you want to use full screen exclusive. For display monitor, make sure that your main monitor is connected. For adapter, make sure that it is your GPU and not your integrated graphics. For screen refresh rate, I use 165 just because that's how high my monitor goes. You can use 144 if you'd like as well, and if you have a lower end PC, you might want to bring this down as well, just because the higher your refresh rate is going to make your PC work even more, which can lead to lower frames. Aspect ratio, I use 16:9. Display gamma 2.2. For eco mode, I use custom with VSync gameplay and menus off. Now for custom frame rate limit, I use unlimited just because I want the max amount of FPS possible. But if you don't want your PC to work as hard when you're not in game, I recommend putting it to custom, and then for menu, put it to 60, and then out of focus, put it to 30. Render resolution, I have it at native. Pause game rendering, I have that off. Reduce quality when inactive, I have that as off as well. And then focus mode, I put it all the way down to 0. Now onto your graphics settings, make sure you are paying attention because these are very important. For dynamic resolution, I have that turned off. And now for upscaling and sharpening, I use fidelity cast. This just looks the best in game, and it's what everybody else is using. Also, if you click square to show more, you want to put your fidelity strength to 85 and then your VRAM scale target to 65. Variable rate shading, I have that turned off. Now for texture resolution, I use normal. I do have a higher end PC. I have an RX 7900. If you are on the lower side, I would recommend putting this at low, but don't go to very low because this doesn't really do any difference. Texture filters, I have that at low. Depth of field, we turn that off. Detail quality, I have it at normal, but I do recommend putting it at low. Particle resolution, we have that at low. Bullet impacts, I turn that off. That will give you a boost in FPS. Persistent effects, we have that turned off. Shader quality, make sure you have that on low. And then on-demand texture streaming, put that at minimal. And then make sure allocated texture cache size is at 32 with download limits off. For local texture streaming quality, leave that at normal. If you put it at low, it won't really do a difference FPS wise, and it'll look a lot better if you leave that on at normal. Shadow quality, make sure that's on low. Screen space shadows, turn that off. Occlusion in space lighting, have that at low. And then screen space reflections, turn that off. Reflection low, tessellations off. Volumetric quality low. Deferred physics quality off. Weather grid volumes, we turn that low. And then water quality, we turn that off. For your view settings, it's mostly preference. I use 120 just because I'm used to it. I play Warzone, but if you want to lower it down, that's what most CDL pros use. Most CDL pros use from 100 to 110 depending on who it is, but I use 120. And then make sure that you have ADS field of view at affected and then weapon field of view at wide. Now most importantly, make sure your world and weapon motion blurs are turned off. If not, you're going to be absolutely dizzy, especially with the Omni movement. You are going to be dizzy as heck. If you want the least amount of camera movement while you are firing, make sure your first person camera movement is at least. And then if you're tired of getting blinded at night with flashbangs, make sure that you have inverted flashbangs on. Now let's move on to our controller settings. Sorry if you are on keyboard and mouse, I do not have the settings for you. I have never even touched the keyboard before. Also keep in mind that I do play claw on a standard PS4 controller. I do have a precision ring from Control Freaks, but these settings are specifically going to be for claw and standard users. Starting with your stick sensitivities, you want to put them at 7.7. I found this to be the sweet spot in Black Ops 6. I used to use 6.6, but 7.7 just feels so much better. This is a great sense, especially for beginners. If you do feel like it is a little slow, you can bump up by 1 until you find a sense that you are comfortable with. For these 3 settings, I have them all turned off, but now most importantly, I want you to swap L1 and R1 with L2 and R2. This is going to swap your aim and fire to L1 and R1, making the response time a lot faster and may just win you your next gunfight. Controller vibrations, obviously turn it off unless you like it, then I guess keep it on. But now for your dead zone inputs, I want you to copy down these exact settings that I have on the screen right now. This is going to allow you to have the most fluid movement in the game, and it'll make sure you have the least amount of input delay. On the aiming tab, the only thing you really have to focus on is this aiming advanced settings. Click on that, and then once you go to ADS sensitivity transition timing, make sure that is on instant. Now the real sauce all has to do with aim response curve type. In Black Ops 6, I found out that dynamic is the best aim responsive curve type. You will start off as standard, but I'm telling you, if you put it on dynamic, you are going to feel insane. Go into your movement settings for sprint assist, make sure tactical sprint assist is on, click square to show more, and then make sure your sprint assist delay is all the way turned down to 0. This is going to allow the least amount of delay when you are sprinting. I don't know why this is even an option to make it higher. It should just be at 0. Slide dive behavior, I use hybrid. This does take a little bit of getting used to depending on if you dive or not. If you don't dive, then you could put it on slide only, but I found the best for omni movement is putting this at hybrid. Door peak, turn that off. Airborne mantle, put that at partial. Sprint restore, turn that on. Slide maintain sprint, make sure that is on, so every time you are slide canceling, you go straight into a sprint. Parachute behavior, make sure to turn that off. There's none in multiplayer, but once Warzone does drop, these settings will apply to that as well. Now, one more very important thing that you need to change is for your minimap shape, make sure it is on square. You don't want to have it on round because it's a lot smaller. You're going to be able to see way more than on a round minimap. As for my audio settings, I have master gain volume at 80. This is just mainly preference. I don't want it blowing up my ears, and I already can't hear as it is. When you click show more, I have gameplay music volume at 0. Obviously, you don't want music blasting in your ear while you are playing. Unless you like it, then go ahead. Dialogue volume, also I have that at 18. You don't want Captain Woods or Price yelling in your ear while you are in a gunfight. For effects volume, I have it all the way at 100. This is going to allow you to hear footsteps a lot clearer than you usually would. And for cinematic music volume, you put that at 0. Game sound device, I have a Go XLR, so I use system, and then your speaker output, make sure it's on stereo. Now going into the readability tab, I want you to focus on color customization. This is going to allow you to change any of the colors of your teammates, your party, your enemies, even yourself. These are the ones that I'm currently using. I turned mine pink because, you know, I like pink. It's a cool color, but you can change it to pretty much any color that you would like. I would recommend changing your enemies to one that you can see more. A lot of people use yellow, but I prefer red. More importantly, if you're wondering why everybody's game looks so saturated and so colorful, it's because their color filters are changed. For your color filter, make sure you have it on filter number 2, and then for your filter target, make sure that it is on both. This is going to make your game way more saturated and more colorful and make the game look so much more beautiful overall. Then for intensities, make sure that world color intensity is at 100, and then for interface color intensity, you have it at 100 as well. Now, on a side note, if you guys didn't know, there is a new glitch going on right now that allows you to have up to 9 attachments on your blueprint. So how you actually do it is click any weapon that has a blueprint and one that you are currently using. For example, I'm going to be using the XM4. Create a new build, and like I said, this will only work if you currently have a blueprint. So I'm going to be using the beta bug smasher loadout. Now, with the attachments that it already has on, you want to take them off and then put whatever attachments that you're going to use. I'm going with these attachments. If you haven't tried this loadout yet, you need to give it a try. It is probably the best AR in the game, but watch what happens when I get into a game. In game, you will see I have a 60 round mag, even though if you look at my blueprint, I have no magazine equipped. So that means that every attachment that was on the blueprint transferred onto the attachments that I already had on my XM4. Now, overall, let me know what you guys rate BO6 1 out of 10. And if you guys would like to see more videos just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn the notifications on.